Oh man. You know what though? Okay, let's get it started.
Yeah, I
So
was like, save it,
yeah,
save
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah,
blow
yeah,
it. Don't blow it.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
first episode. Save all the good stuff.
All right, let's do it.
All
Let's
right.
get in there. I'll let you start, ladies first.
All right. Welcome to Show Me What I've Been Missing, the podcast where we watch a TV or movie and find out what we've been missing.
Yes, because one of us hasn't seen it and the other one has, and it's up to that person to bring us into the glory that we've been missing. And for this season, we are doing Sex in the City, which I have not seen, but my good friend Elizabeth has seen, and she's
Multiple
going to walk me
times.
through it multiple times. So she's going to walk me through it and show me what I've been missing. Today's episode, we're going to start with season 1, episode 1, and I have a lot to say about it because it's very interesting.
I bet.
But I'm gonna let you start, and you tell me like your experience with it, and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah. So this, I also looked up some historical context because I don't know exactly how old you were in 1998, and I'm not gonna say exactly.
Oh, we're the same age, so
yeah, okay,
whatever age
fine.
you were,
Then we were the same age in 1998, but
exactly.
we don't need to say what age.
No, that's fine. No, yeah.
We'll put it. We'll let the audience figure it out. Yeah, we'll let the audience figure it out. I was 12. What do you call it? So this debuted on June 6th in 1998, based off the book by Candace Bushnell, who had written for a newspaper in New York, very similar to Carrie. And a little fun historical context, sex was on the brain in 1998. This was the year of the Clinton sex scandal, including I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes.
Impeachment happened in November.
Yeah.
Also, this was the year the FDA approved Viagra.
Oh, so, that's serious?
1998 was a sexy year.
Fun fact about Viagra, it was invented in Chicago. I learned this at the Chicago Museum. There's this museum I went to that told the history of all the things that are invented in Chicago. Viagra was one of them.
So when the show debuted, obviously I was not watching it because I was a little too young, as were you. I probably actually saw my first episodes of it closer to the end of the series, which I won't say what was happening because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So, and I forget when I maybe first rewatched it start to finish, because it is a jarring transition, because they always play episodes on E or basic cable. I'd say from mostly season 3 onward, some season 2, but I feel like season 1 is very, very different than all the rest of the seasons, and so whenever I go back and watch it from the beginning, it's always incredibly jarring. And,
nice. Yeah. I remember seeing it sometimes on basic cable, just flipping through it's totally different than what I expected from what I see from that experience.
And it's gonna get even different.
So edited. I didn't realize how edited the show was. I was like, because I seen it on basic cable. I was like, oh, this is a show you can basically show anywhere. I honestly, because I seen it on network television, or not network, excuse me, on basic cable. I actually thought that it was like a network show that just went into syndication. I had no idea that it was HBO until later on I figured it out.
No, this was a sexy, sexy show, and people were talking about sex openly and constantly. And that's the other funny thing is watching it in full on HBO.
Yeah.
After watching it on basic cable so many times, late at night, if I'm winding down or whatever, there's as we'll get into it, especially I'll know which episodes I'm referring to, but there's episodes with whole plot lines removed, whole scenes removed, that they, it's cut down so it fits into a 22-minute chunk, and the show's only 30 minutes. But even those 6 minutes missing are really crucial to understanding things.
That's interesting.
And it hurts Samantha's character a lot. So if you were to only have seen it on basic cable, you're missing a lot of Samantha.
To say about her.
I bet. Oh my god. So let's start with the episode. The recap of the episode is there's really not much to go over. It's not a plot heavy episode at all. It really is just we meet our ladies and we get like really direct descriptions of who they are, like name titles and everything.
Oh yeah.
And we meet Mr. Big, who is the ongoing love interest for Carrie.
Okay.
That I guess that's a little spoiled, but
yeah. Good.
But you've heard of Big and Carrie before, probably.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, yeah. You know, when he walked in, I was like, oh, this is the guy that everybody's always talking about. And like, and it's also too, because, you know, I always heard people comparing themselves to like said characters. And now that I know the characters, I'm like, oh, all right. I mean, of course there's going to be development sure later on down the line, but like, as far as basic personality that people like compare themselves to, I get it now. I see who is everybody.
When someone's like, I'm a Carrie, I'm a Miranda.
You know, right now I'm going to say because from the first episode, just judging off the first episode, I'm like Samantha on the surface, but like a Skipper deep down. Because Skipper's like a really sweet guy, and like I think deep down I'm that. So ladies, if you I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm not gonna do that.
I view Skipper so differently now.
Right. Okay. So I'm assuming his character is not gonna. Okay. Cool. Like we're only gonna talk about that.
Yeah. Again, I feel like I'm like don't spoil.
Yeah. No, you good. So, that's yes.
Because I forgot how many guys get introduced in this first episode because it's so woman focused.
It is, and there's there's a segment in the episode like at the very beginning where they're where like all these guys are coming on. They're like the toxic bachelors they're putting under them. And I was like, at first I was a little bit upset because I'm like, who are these dudes that think that they're like God's gift to women? Because like, you know, you see them in the gyms, they're working out, but they're just like regular looking dudes. None of them are like extremely attractive or like, you know, look like they're super rich or anything. They just seem like they have like decent enough jobs so they can afford a gym membership or go rock climbing on fake walls. And
a lot of rock climbing.
Yeah, I think like that. One of the bachelors, he was like, why don't women just marry a fat guy and be happy? It's like, what?
Why don't you just marry a fat girl, you piece of shit? I don't know.
Exactly. It was so weird, but yeah, like I was until Mr. Big came along and is it? I can't remember. Was it Kevin, the one that she was like on and off with, the guy that?
I wrote it. I think I wrote it down, but now I can't remember. Spoiler alert.
Something like
Keith.
That.
Yeah.
Keith. Okay, Keith. Yeah. When he came on, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Now the show started because like there's actually like good-looking men, and like I can see like what the problem is with dating now because like those first few guys, the toxic bachelors. I don't think none of them were making the ladies wet. This is my opinion. That's just my opinion.
That's so funny because within the last year or so, I think someone put out an article or a tweet or something about like the first few seasons, all the guys that the ladies get with are like not that great looking for like what you would think would be on a sexy cable show. It's kind of an odd collection of guys.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put down people's looks, but it's some interesting casting choices.
Clearly, actors have gotten hotter over the last few years because, like, I'm assuming maybe, you know, because it was 1998, so maybe they didn't have a lot of pickings and choosings as far as like hot men. You know what I'm saying? Because
styling also comes into play.
Attractive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, style.
So the clothes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this was not a very fashion heavy episode. But I did not realize. So the whole season or the whole series, really, Carrie is obsessed with shoes. Okay. It was specifically Manolo Blahniks, which get shout out in the first episode, and I didn't realize that. So I was like, oh, okay. Now I have gigantic freaking feet for a girl. I have size 11 feet. And I don't think they make fancy shoes that big. So I've always been like, F shoes, man. Fuck shoes. Yeah. I hate it. Well, I mean, I've never been shoe obsessed.
I think that's a blessing for you because I see the shoes that women wear sometimes to like look good and they don't look comfortable. And every woman that's in them looks miserable. So, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, I guess. Yeah. I think more of a blessing, in my opinion.
In the long run, my back will thank me later.
Yeah. Your back, your tailbone, everything else that's things, you know, influence.
What did you, because it is so fashion-y as a show, what did you think of, do you care about the fashion at all?
Here's the, man, it's
gonna get more interesting and in some
Well,
cases matter more as
oh
the
yeah.
series goes on.
No, actually, it was actually interesting the fashion uh of this era because like I was a kid when at around this time, so I didn't really know anything about fashion. But like then going back and
Yeah.
and seeing like the fashion of the late 90s, I mean, man, there's probably a few people that look back to those like. Luckily, we were kids, so like
Yeah.
we look back at our pictures at that time. Hey, we were kids. Our parents dressed us. We didn't have no choice. But like, there's some people that were adults and
They were adults in
they were making
1998.
choices and they weren't great. But I mean, hey, I guess that happens to everybody. We'll probably look back in another like 10 or so
Oh
years and be
yeah.
like, what the hell were we wearing? So.
No, like the hair and makeup is really
so 90s.
So 90s. Like in that cafe scene,
yeah,
where she's talking to oh my god, I'm sorry, Keith. I made the worst. Keith, yeah, Stanford, when she's talking with her friend Stanford.
Oh, the gay friend.
The gay friend.
Yes.
Her eyeshadow and lipstick is so frosty 90s.
Oh,
it's hilarious. That was so the thing then.
Right, yeah.
And her hair's going to be really different too. This is like, I think this is the pilot too, so it's like
that, it's
not her final form.
That was the kind of thing about it. Like this show, this episode was the pilot, but it did a good job of introducing everybody to who we're gonna be following, but it didn't really leave me with a lingering hope of like getting to know the characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely gonna keep watching it because obviously, that's
we committed to this podcast.
Yeah, we committed. But I mean, it's like if I was gonna watch it on my own, I don't know if I would be very interested in watching the first episode unless it followed the dude that what's the character's name? I can't think of a freaking name. The one that went out with like the arts dude and then like
Charlotte,
yes. So that if you're following that dude that she went out with, because that guy's a savage. That guy is
he's awful
savage. No, and I don't mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in a good way.
He has the best dumb name. He was Capote Duncan.
Capote Duncan.
What a fucking name. Who dude. No, what a fake name.
Like that dude is a fucking savage. Like literally just got out of a date with her and then was like, I need to get laid, and got in the cab with her and told her that's what he was doing. Like, I'm going to the bar to go get laid since you didn't fuck me.
Yeah, the audacity and the balls.
Oh my god. I because like I wasn't an adult in 1998, but like, but I'm an adult now, and I could never do that to a person. Like I could be that.
Oh, it's straight up psycho. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
He's probably Patrick Bateman people left and right.
I mean, he had the apartment. His apartment looked like Patrick Bateman could live in that motherfucker. So
he had some piece of art that everybody wanted to see, and I was like, that's the ultimate lure. Be like, come look at my artwork, and then I'll drop a chainsaw on you or whatever. Like in the movie.
So here's the thing too, and this is the thing that kind of makes me want to watch the next episode because for those who haven't seen it, spoiler alert, hopefully you have watched this episode. At the end of the episode, he comes in with Samantha.
Yeah.
And they hook up. And that was like, it was a very awkward.
Did you think she looked sad? I thought she looked really sad.
Okay, yes. There was.
And I never noticed that before.
Yeah, like when he said that he had to get up early the next morning, and like, and she said she had to do the same thing. It didn't seem organic. Like it seemed like that was just something she was saying as a reaction to what he was saying, and she didn't look happy about it. Like I think it looked like she was thinking that whatever this situation was with them was gonna be more, and then once he said like you can't stay, I think that like affected her in some way. I don't know, maybe it was just like affected her ego, or she was like truly hurt by it, but she definitely didn't look happy. Yeah,
I never like. Considering who she is and becomes over the series, that was a really interesting little detail that again I like hadn't noticed before. In the first episode, she looks very like kind of, like you said, like hurt.
Yeah.
In that moment, like she said, I have an early morning too to play along. But because earlier when they're all at the birthday dinner or she's like, yeah, have sex like men, no emotional attachments, and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. But
Yeah.
it's not that simple.
Clearly it's not, which like I said, that was very surprising because, from what I've heard before I watched the show about like who Samantha was, like
Hmm.
she seemed like she's out in these streets doing
Yeah.
her thing, no strings attached, like get in, get out, have some fun,
Yeah.
see you later. And then this first episode, she was like that at the birthday dinner, basically. And I was like, all right, this is the Samantha I've heard about. But that moment, I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
expect her to be affected by this guy like that. Like I thought she was gonna be actually the first one to be like, hey, I gotta get up in the morning.
Yeah.
So let's make this quick.
Maybe she was sad he beat her to saying that.
That's what I was saying. Like I don't know if it was necessarily she was
Yeah.
hurt, all like if it was more of an ego thing,
Mm-hmm.
or
Or
she
truly
was
like
truly
soul
by
hurt.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to watch the next episode, or that's why I want to watch the next episode to see where that goes. Because one, it's a savage move. The fact that he like just went out with her girlfriend,
Yeah.
like 2 hours before, and then now he's bringing her home, and I don't know, like I wonder if she's aware of that or not. I'm very interested to see how that plays out. That's gonna be very interesting to see in the next episode.
For
I
sure.
also I also liked, not liked, but it was interesting is the fact that Keith. So when we're introduced to Keith, when they're after she sees him at the coffee shop, or sorry, her friend spots him at the coffee shop. It was interesting to me to see that he was smoking.
Oh, I noted, I like half of my notes are like, oh my god, the smoking.
Yeah.
I looked it up. They didn't do the smoking ban until I think 2004. 2003. That's near the end of the show's run.
Okay.
Which is interesting, but they are smoking. She smokes a lot in the series. It's like it becomes a bit of a plot point a couple times too. How much she loves smoking.
Yeah, because I remember Carrie. That's Sarah Jessica Parker's character, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Carrie. Okay, so I remember because like when she was talking to Keith, she even took a couple drags of a cigarette, and that was something that like that's how the show started in the late 90s, because like usually, especially now, if you see somebody smoking on camera, they're usually the bad guy, which Keith kind of is. He's kind of the bad guy, but then you never see. It's rare that you see a woman smoke unless she's just like the tortured soul, like the rebellious teen or whatever. But as far as like a character like Carrie is, you would never see a character like that now.
Yeah, she's our hero, and
she's
chain
like
smoking like a chimney.
Oh man, it was crazy. I was like, this is totally 90s, because you just wouldn't see that at all. You know what I mean? Unless it's like a post-coital scene situation, then they might show, a character like her having a drag of a cigarette.
Yeah, one of my notes is just so much smoking.
And that's how you know it was also the 90s too, because he was in New York smoking in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You'll never see that happen. Like if somebody was doing that right now, they'd be getting the biggest fine they could ever afford. Like it would be crazy.
Oh no, I wrote down Keith. I think we've been calling Kurt Keith this entire time because I have Kurt in my notes.
Is it Kurt? Is it the bad boy?
I believe so.
Oh shit. Sorry.
That's my bad. No, Keith sounded right. Look, I will spoil this for you. Non-entity never comes up again.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured as much. Because I mean, the way that he kind of did her in the club.
Yeah.
I figured she wasn't gonna keep it going with him. I mean, because literally, he was like, "Hey, yeah, if you ever want to fuck, then hit me up." And then he went like made out with an Asian girl. I was like, "Oh, if she has any self-respect, she won't be back again. Hopefully."
So speaking of the guys on the show, though, I don't care for Skipper, so I'm sorry that you feel like Skipper deep down inside.
Is he really okay?
Red flags.
This is what I want to know. All right, as a woman, can a guy be too nice? Because that's his whole thing. Like as far as this episode goes right now, Skipper is looked at as like too nice, too sensitive, and these women enjoy spending time with him or going on dates with him, but like he doesn't close because he's like too nice. So is there such thing as too nice? You tell me. I don't
think there's such a thing as too nice. But it's the the awkwardness that is not like it goes from endearing to just like he does not know how to interact or talk with Miranda.
Okay.
And too forward with the hand on the leg. She called him out on it, and I'm glad she did.
With the quickness.
Yeah. She's like, get your fucking hands off me.
Dude, she said, "Is that your hand on my knee?" He was like,
he was like,
well,
no,
she was kind of giving him a hard time too, because
she was rough on him.
He was a little rough on him. Like when he was trying to explain like the dynamic of like people who like aren't attractive that develop personalities. She was like, "What, am I not beautiful?" He's like, I'm just
yeah, she was fucking with him hard.
She was.
But it's the over niceness thing, and I am conflating it the more I think about it a little too much with the current nice guy issue, where it's like I'm nice to you, guys are nice to girls, and then get mad when the girl does not want to go out with or have sex with, and then they get mad. But it's like women are not sex robots that you put niceness coins into and get sex out of. I cannot take credit for that phrasing. I've seen it before.
Right. No, but that's true. I mean, that's true.
And that's kind of what he's on the borderline of.
Okay.
It's not quite the same because he's not like Carrie technically set Skipper and Miranda up because she's like, Skipper is a nice person. I want him to go out with Miranda thinking that they will work. But he's overdoing it in a different nice guy kind of way, and that's like that's the turn off. It's sort of there will be a little more with him. I think we'll be able to like clear up my dislike for him as we go on.
Well, that's always a dynamic.
Also, Skipper's just the dumbest fucking name.
It's
second only to Capote Duncan.
Yeah, I mean, Skipper, that's an unfortunate name, especially for a guy with his personality, because it always reminds me of you ever seen How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
Remember Scooter?
No, I don't know.
Lily's old boyfriend from high school, his name was Scooter. He was like obsessed with her from like since they dated until like even towards the end, like literally he showed up at their wedding, at Marshall and Lily's wedding, was like
really?
trying to get her back, and he even showed up at Robin and Barney's wedding and tried to get her back.
Oh
like,
my god.
He was obsessed, but he was like this super sweet, nice guy. He just a little crazy, but like unfortunately he was named Scooter and Skipper. This kind of reminds me of that because it just seems like he's
not very nice though, is he? If he's not respecting Lily's breakup, and Skipper is not. Well, it's not that he's not respecting Miranda, although that hand on the leg, that's the red flag.
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, guys, we do think that we get points for being nice. Like, if we call you, like that, we think we should get brownie points for that. Or like, if we open your door for you, like we feel like we should get points.
But then you cannot, in turn, get mad if it's not reciprocated. And that's the nice guy that's coming to me now. The nice guy thing is he's not clearly stating that like, I like you, Miranda, I'm into you. He's putting all the work, and when he's not kind of direct and clear about his like feelings and or intentions.
Okay.
And she's but then gets mad that she's not inferring what he wants. That's the other big problem with nice guys, is they won't like, and I say air quotes on nice guys, is that they won't be mature basically about like, I would like to date you, I like you that way, and think that instead of just being direct like that, they'll be nice to the girl and wear her down, rather than just be like, hey, we've hung out a few times and we're on this date and I like you and I would like X, Y, and Z to go further, and allow her to more openly say no versus, yes or no, basically, versus like, oh, I did all these little chores for you, or I did all these errands for you, or I found this random thing that you mentioned one time. That's a nice thing. And it's like, yeah, those are nice things, but what's the purpose or intention behind them? It's just, to the girl, it's just you're being nice to be nice, because you're not clearly stating, I would like to partner with you emotionally, sexually, whatever.
Oh, see, this is the kind of stuff that I love talking to people about, because I never saw it that way as a guy, because we think
Mhm.
that, if we're not like, because we've heard it a million times, whether it be in rom-coms, whether it be in sitcoms, whether it be in whatever,
Mhm.
books or whatever, women want nice guys, but they never say in detail what a nice guy actually is. So to
Mhm.
us, it's like basically having, extended level of manners, because
Yeah.
we think, like that's what we think is a nice guy, and we think that's what women want. But I wasn't aware of the fact that there was more to that than that.
And being nice shouldn't be transactional is the big
Right,
issue. And that's
exactly.
how this certain subset of quote unquote nice guys is treating it. There are nice guys who you just do a nice thing for a person and you don't expect anything back. It's the transactional, and without stating up front that you expect it to be transactional.
Okay.
If only you know that I'm being nice to you so I can get sex or a relationship out of you, but I'm not telling you that,
Uh-huh.
that's a problem.
I see. All
So
right.
that's the whole vibe I got off of Skipper. Was
Yeah.
he do that kind of like, I do nice things for Miranda, but she won't date me. What a bitch. And that's how you
Right.
get incels and a whole other set of problems.
Well, he did come through in the end of the date. He did like take charge and grab her
Yeah,
and kiss her. But I don't know how I felt about that.
I did not care for that.
Okay, I didn't either. I was like, I like, listen. As a man, I get it, because like he's trying to assert himself and let her know
Hmm.
like he ain't no pushover, like he can be a man.
Hmm.
But at the same token, a little
Yeah, it
creepy.
it's a little
Creepy.
little aggressive, especially when she's kind of made it clear, I
He
think
ain't into
almost
you.
directly, that she's really not into him.
I mean,
There's gonna be
no, it wasn't even almost a direction. She literally said it. Like he just kind of like, she didn't say it. She didn't get the full sentence out, but like
yeah,
she was basically alluding to it. And he was like, "Oh, okay, I understand." So before she
yeah,
could even get it out, so he literally knew the rejection was coming, and then still went in for the kiss, which is admirable, but also, like maybe that works in 1998, but this
yeah,
is 2020. Nah, bro, not gonna
yeah.
work.
There's definitely gonna be I won't say or and can't remember a specific instance, but I'm pretty sure there's some questionable incidents as the series goes on. Because things were different in 1998 than they are right
Oh
now.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I already just from the intro. First of all, the intro of the show with the character in her book Elizabeth. Sorry,
Oh
that
yeah,
was her
no,
name.
yeah.
like that.
I forgot that was a whole. I didn't even remember that there was that whole intro before you even get to
Yeah, I was actually going to ask
Carrie.
you like if that affected you, because like sometimes when I hear my name as a character in a show and like that
Yeah,
character gets fucked, I'm like, man, why
yeah.
you
I'm
got to
like,
be
why?
Chris? Or like if he's an asshole, I'm like, why you got to be named Chris? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So and this poor girl is like getting done over, so and like her name's Elizabeth, so I'm like, I
yeah.
wonder if that's
The original ghosting, like where
yes.
slowly but surely, like
Dude, just discussing ghosting too. Like 2 weeks, I wouldn't even call if somebody didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. I wouldn't even bother calling them. Like fuck
yeah,
that. Clearly they're gone. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like they're not into me. Like there's nothing. There's no real excuse that you could make to be gone or not contact somebody for 2 whole weeks. There's just
yeah.
nothing. There's nothing you can say, unless barring a
Even in the
terrible accident. Like if
yeah,
you got hit by a car, was in the hospital in a coma, that's different. But that's literally the only thing. Or if you died, then that's like
yeah.
like those two things are the only two excuses that are okay to leave somebody, contactless for
And this
two
is like in the
weeks.
the pre phone instant contact age, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
even
So you have to call to
you
know
have
that
to
you're
call,
still.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also, spoiler alert, that girl never really comes up again.
Yeah, I figured as much because she
Yeah,
didn't seem like a very important character. I think that was just kind of a way to introduce Carrie's like style of writing and like what
yeah,
she's about to us as the audience. So I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, I just like that intro and then like the toxic bachelor intro and the things
yeah.
that they were saying. I was like, man, if this was 2020, these motherfuckers would be canceled.
I know.
They would get no play at all. There would be no vagina in their future. If any woman heard them speak this way, Like
And I
even
feel
the
like
most.
even just the fact that they're called toxic is sort of ahead of its time, because
It
I feel
is.
like
I had to actually had that in my notes. I was like, that's interesting that because like it literally had a phrase "toxic bachelor" for
yeah,
every single one. And I was like, ah,
everyone now is toxic. Everything is toxic
right,
relationships. I mean, semi rightfully so, but it is a little overused. But it's still
yeah.
interesting that it popped up even way back then.
Well, I'm ashamed to admit this, and I'm not gonna go into specifics, but there was one bachelor that was toxic bachelor that had a viewpoint that I had a
Uh-oh.
while back, and I was like,
Uh-oh.
oh no, I didn't realize that I was a toxic bachelor. I,
Oh
I'm not gonna go into the details of what they said, but it was about something with children, and I was like,
But you
oh,
didn't but you haven't stayed that way, and
no, I haven't stayed that way. I
that's
grew,
the good
I've
thing.
grown, I've
Yes.
grown, I've
These
grown,
guys aren't
but
growing.
yeah. This was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago that I had kind of had that
Mhm.
view, but just hearing him say that,
Oh, I know
and
which one.
you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Okay, for those who've seen the episode, you'll know who I'm talking about. And like I heard him
I won't
say
call
it.
you out though.
That's fine. You can call me out. That's fine. I'll take it. I'll take the hit. But because I'm not that person anymore. But
Yeah.
I heard him say it out loud, and I went back to a conversation I had before with somebody where I said basically the same thing, and I was like, oh, I was a complete douchebag in that moment. Like, no wonder it didn't work out with said person because I was a complete douche. And the fact that I was even there with them was like, oh man, it was bad. Yeah,
Because it was the one that was like, you got to get kids popped out early, but you can't wait. But if you get married at 34, then you have to have kids right away because you're running out of time.
right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, you run out of time, and like basically, if you marry a woman that's 35, forget about kids because they're not gonna be able to have. I was like, oh, that's
yeah.
fucked up. I didn't have that opinion, but the dating a girl that in her 30s and like yeah, they like I didn't want to do that because I was like they're probably gonna want to have kids like basically within the first year of us being together, and I was like I don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, and that's a very, I think, 1998 thing too, because
Sure.
now advancements like technology, you don't have
Yeah,
to.
I mean,
For the most part.
I think wasn't there a celebrity woman that just had a baby at like 50 or something
Yeah,
like that?
there's been a few. But
So,
speaking of the age thing, though, that's worth bringing up too, because they're in their 30s, and I always forget.
mhm.
When I first saw it, I thought they were older than their 30s.
Do they seem that way?
To me, as like a teenage girl, I was like, oh, they're so not so old, but they're just like 30s was like a weird nebulous age to me as a teenager, and I
Now,
couldn't wrap my head around it.
let me
And
make sure.
now I'm about their same age.
Okay,
Actually,
let me make sure
technically,
that I got this right. Is it Miranda? That's the dark-haired
Charlotte has the dark hair.
Charlotte, dark hair.
Mhm.
Okay, she definitely seems her and the redhead
Miranda.
Brenda. Those two seem older than 30 ish.
Mhm.
Like they definitely seem like they're like late 30s, early 40s. And but
Yeah.
not like in looks, just like their
Like personality.
yeah, like how
Yeah.
they view life and how they
I,
like just from this episode, it seems like they're a
mhm.
lot older and a lot more mature. Like Miranda seems like she for sure knows what she wants. And all the women so
Mhm.
far that I've seen, she has a clear and concise view of what she wants in a relationship, in life, and everything else. And it does, and it's not even a viewpoint too. From what I've seen too, it's not even like a out there kind of viewpoint. Like it's
Mhm.
very logical
Yeah.
possibility that she could get all these things, and like I'm kind of hoping that she does because
Mhm.
she just I mean, I've never seen a character like this that was just like so put
She's the
together.
least frivolous of the four,
Okay.
and the one that people used to, I think, not be as into as like a character that you want to identify with. You
Mhm.
want to be like cool Carrie, or like you're like, I'm kind of prim
Right.
like Charlotte, and like I'm cool and sexy like Samantha, and everyone's like, and Peggy, and Miranda. But
Right.
now, as time has gone on, there was actually a book called "We Should All Want to Be Mirandas," because is like
Yeah.
she's got the second, I think, to Samantha, who's like a PR executive. She's a lawyer. Miranda's a lawyer, so
Right.
she's got like a good job. It's clearly somewhat high paying.
Yeah.
And she's like still going out and having sex or finding boyfriends or whatever and like doing her own thing. And I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna give things away, but like
She's just not
she's
here for the bullshit. I can tell she's not here for the
exactly,
bullshit.
she's
That's
not,
really
yeah,
what it's. Yeah, that's and I'm okay with that because
yeah,
like, there's a lot of. I mean, just as a guy, I've dated women that like say they want said things and then
mm-hmm,
like they really don't know they want things, or they pretend that or they say like, they want a casual relationship, but then
mm-hmm.
like, a month or two in, they want something more deeper.
Carrie.
But, yeah, but when that's why I like Miranda because I feel like Miranda is like, look, for date one, I'm not saying we have to get married, but like I'm not in this for some bullshit. So if you're
Yeah,
gonna date, you better be ready for the real thing,
yeah,
not
because
casual shit.
I laughed that they were saying like, oh, somebody was 35 or 41 and then they weren't married or they were divorced by that point, and I was like, oh my god, heaven forbid you be 41 and single. The devil will take you at that point, you absolute fucking crone. What the hell?
Yeah, I know that.
And
That's
Miranda was the one saying that. And that's the wild part, is
yeah,
even though she is very put together and very to
yeah,
the point, they all are stuck with this very of the era,
uh
like
huh,
like what, like once they're all terrified of 40, I think. And I think
right.
that comes up because like apparently you are put on an ice floe off of Manhattan to like be sent to the ocean to die once you turn 40 and you're single. Like it's kind of insane. Especially
It
now.
is. It is.
Especially now. And especially because I'm like this. I'm in the early 30s and I'm like, there's still plenty of life left to live, and it doesn't have to be.
But that's the thing too, and that's that's how you can tell this like a product of its time because
Totally.
like there's still some people that feel that way, even men. It's not only women
Oh,
feel
for sure. Yeah.
this way. There's some men that feel like if I'm not married or have kids and a house and everything like that by the time I'm 35, they feel like they failed in life as a man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think more men, even today, still kind of feel like that, even though we kind of don't have control of it. I mean,
Hmm.
look at the economy. Like most people are still paying off student loan debts and
Yeah.
everything like that. Like, and especially too, if you live in Los Angeles, like the prospect of buying a house in Los Angeles, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because you basically have to be a millionaire to get a okay house, not
I'll
a
be
good house,
lucky
an
if I can
okay
buy a
house.
condo.
Right. Exactly. And that's a good condo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is weird because what you could get as a condo here could get you a mansion where I'm from.
Yeah. Same. Oh my god. Yeah.
Like, and I'm talking about like a mansion, not like 42 room mansion like fucking Mike Tyson, but at least like 10 room mansion.
Yeah.
So it's that's so like that's that whole like getting older trope and like fearing that and
Yeah.
feeling like you're basically like a useless piece of garbage. That's very much a product of the time, but like I think it's funny too because I think that idea that was
Hmm.
then that was more impactful on women has switched to more men now
Hmm.
than anything. I think more
Interesting.
men feel that way. Like if they haven't accomplished like what society says they should have accomplished by like 35 or 40, or if like they're 40, single at 40 and like not divorced, basically
Hmm.
they're like damaged goods. Like no
Yeah.
woman's gonna ever want to be with them because they're 40 and unmarried and no kids.
No, and that's I'm like, no, you theoretically, for the most part, hopefully have your shit together, and that's very
Right.
appealing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like you can have your shit together mentally, but a lot of
Yeah.
people see things as what's on paper. So like you can have your shit together up here and and be focused in your career or be focused in your
Hmm.
job, but like if you don't have the bank account that goes with that focus, people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you really doing if you don't have like what?" Especially men too, especially in this city. Like I think men definitely feel it a lot more because there's a lot more. No, and please don't take this as like me trying to like, oh, the struggles of men.
Yeah.
But
You're fine. You're fine.
think in this city, like it's more pressure on us to be successful than women.
Hmm.
I think there's more as far as this city goes. I don't know about other places, but as far as LA goes, I think there's more pressure on us to be successful and have our shit together than the women.
Yeah. No, I think I think there's pressure on men and definitely to a degree, because I think that it's funny. One of the lines was like, "Are we throttling back on love as we're throttling up on power?" And I was like, "Well, hell yeah, ladies, get it, seize that power." And so, I mean, the like, there's a whole thing of like masculinity and like how you feel you should be as a guy versus like what is actually totally fine to do, which is most things. Like, you don't have to be a married homeowner by 35, but there's still like low-key societal pressure. Hell, when I was in college, some guy I talked to was like, well, my parents got married right out of college and had kids, and I really need to do that too. I was like, do you? Really? Because even my dad one time, someone I knew in high school was going to get married right when they turned 18, and he's like, do they have some sort of farm that they have to tend? Why are they doing that?
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, that makes sense if you're like getting out of college and you're going to take over the family business, but right away like that. I mean, that's the thing too. Most people who went to college, most people aren't even doing what they went to college for. You know what I mean? Like, they might have a good job, but it's probably not what they studied for. You know what I mean? Like, other than maybe lawyers and doctors and things of that nature, because that's kind of, after you spend all that time in school, that's the only thing that you can do. Like, there's no really, unless you go into entertainment. But most people who go into law or medicine aren't trying to be entertainers. A few have, but not many. I think and there's a lot of pressure of that too from our parents, because they grew up in an era where, like, one income households was the thing.
The 40-hour work week is a myth because it for in many ways it also is predicated on someone else tending to your home. So whenever people are like, well, I don't understand, I work full time and then I had to, like, I'm trying to keep my apartment clean and do all the grocery shopping and cooking, and it's like, don't feel that pressure, because that's technically a second person's job this whole time. They just kind of stopped bringing that up and now make you feel like shit because you can't manage all these things on your own, when realistically it's one income, one person's going out to work, usually the dude, and usually the woman is doing all the like home stuff, because managing a house is like a legit thing we all have to do. You make sure your bills are all paid, you got to keep it clean, you have to feed yourself and all that, do laundry and all that stuff. I just did all my chores yesterday. And I was overdue. I was a little behind.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and that's the thing is like, I also, because like, we kind of have the, like, going back to the show, like, we have the pressures of like that kind of thing, not only from like our folks and like society, but even like social media. So I wonder, with a situation like with a show like this in 1998, like if you were to add social media to it, how much of a different show would this be? You know what I mean? Especially question. As a pilot episode with social media involved. Like, I would love to see a revamp of this show just with like a modern take on it.
Yeah.
With these aspects, because I feel like it wouldn't be the same show. You know what I mean? Like, we're literally watching a time capsule, and we're watching we're gonna be watching time progress.
Yeah,
from a way different. I mean, that's the thing too. This was only what 20 years ago.
Yeah, 22 years ago.
22 years ago. Like, it seems like a long time, but like, it's not that long, and the progression of like how we view things and how we view life is going to be I know it's going to be completely different. So like, even when we get to the final season of this show, like, it's still not going to be what we have now. So I'm very excited about this.
They barely get cell phones involved.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, this was like what, on the cusp of like, AIM Messenger, like like that's what we're dealing with. Like, we haven't even hit MySpace yet. MySpace hasn't even been invented when this episode aired.
There's a whole like email internet episode that pops up eventually.
Oh man.
And it's funny because it even as like technology kind of advances, and like, they definitely don't get to like true social media or even like texting or anything like that, but Carrie remains like very like, I want to stay in the past, and then technology is almost like abhorrent to her, which comes into play a few times. It's really like, it's wild.
That's interesting.
Especially considering she is a writer and writes on a laptop.
Right. On a computer. Like she does like a blog basically.
Yeah, well, it's
Essentially.
for a new, that's so funny you'd call it a blog. It was technically like a sex column in
Right.
the fictional newspaper in the show.
Yeah.
And be prepared to go insane realizing that that's all she does for a living.
Also, before we wrap it up, I also love the idea that like this is how we know this is like a show of a certain era, because like they have the most like stereotypical successful jobs in like a metropolitan area. Like one's a writer, one's a lawyer, one's like, you know, like a fashionista, one's an art, you know, an artist.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, you know, like all we missing is an architect, you know?
Yeah, right.
That's all we're missing.
All,
Her gay friend was an architect, but apparently not. But still,
no, he's a talent manager,
talent
or whatever.
Yeah. So like, but even then, another like cliche big city job, successful job. You know what I mean? I think
we haven't even gotten to the part that made me absolutely scream when I remembered it and saw it. So she meets Mr. Big on the sidewalk, which I forgot because I thought I didn't realize it was like such a little meet cute moment.
After he picks up her condoms.
Oh, her condoms.
Which again, 1998, she seems like a hoe, but 2020, that's a smart girl. Like, she's responsible. She's making sure she's getting, because like unfortunately, I don't know why, but us men, we haven't taken it upon ourselves to like be responsible for birth control, and it's always falling on you guys. And as a man, I apologize for that.
Thank you.
But it also feels good going raw, so I also don't apologize for that.
As long as everybody knows up front what's happening, that's totally fine.
True. I'm just saying, like, listen, I'm sorry that we put that on you guys, but also
sneaking in the raw dogging is a crime. I think it actually these days. It is. But as long as you're up front and everybody knows and everybody's cool with it, then do whatever you want. But then they meet at the club, and when Samantha explains who he is, she says he's the next Donald Trump, except better looking. And I paused it so I could just scream into the void for 5 minutes when I thought about it.
My nose turned up when she said that. And here's the thing. I didn't cringe because of who Donald Trump is. I cringe because that character didn't deserve that, because
it feels like an insult now, right?
Yeah, it is like this guy, I don't know, again, this is only episode 1, so I don't know who he is or who he's going to be, but I just didn't feel like that was a fair assessment, because like now I looking at this character and like I almost don't want to see him because he compared him to like the new Donald Trump. I was like, that sucks, because now I don't even want to see this guy anymore.
So as the series goes on, please keep that in mind and picture Mr. Big as president from time to time.
No!
It's just kind of hilarious.
Okay.
Because I mean, I know we talked about on our other show that we do that how much of like a total fake he is and was in New York at the time, but everybody was buying into it. Or it's so weird because like the show is very like New York is the 5th character and everybody's smart and good about New York, but like they couldn't see through the Trump's bullshit, these characters. But like Trump does not come up very often. I think there's like one other reference, thank God. But just the thought of like Mr. Big as president was like making me howl. I was dying. It was the funniest thing in the freaking world to me.
I don't think I cannot see that as the show progresses.
Like,
not him being Trump, but just like him being president.
Yeah, it's gonna. The more you watch it, you're gonna be like, "There's no way this guy can be president either." But then here we are.
Wow.
And the I forgot, and I'm surprised that he got the last line of the first episode.
Correct.
And then we got that jazzy freeze frame. I loved all the sexy jazz music the whole episode to remind us, hey.
I also love that like you can tell the age of it because it looks like it was shot in Britain and not America.
It's so grainy and it's 4:3. I mean, I know that was standard def then, and so I was like, that was totally normal, and it was, I think, touted for like, wow, look how great this show looks, but it's so funny now.
It's so weird because when I watch things like this or like watch old things, it's like I don't remember them being so grainy. You know what I mean? Like I remember watching them on TV and this being like crisp, clear vision. Like even in my brain, I remember seeing it like as clear as day. And then you go back and watch something like that. Like I went back and watched like Family Matters not too long ago, and I was like, I don't remember the show being so
Why is this the Zapruder tape? What the fuck is happening?
I was like, they shoot this shit on like a camcorder? Is this a MTV fucking real world submission tape?
Why does it all look like the Blair Witch Project?
Oh my god, yeah. But yeah, so like that's as soon as this show opened up, I was like, oh man, yeah, this is 1998 for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited though. Like again, because this show has been in the lexicon of our language and our like slang and everything like that. And I've always been so lost in that because I haven't watched the show. But now that I have, I am very excited to like finally. I mean, I'm gonna be several years late. Yes,
right.
Several years late.
Just a little.
But I also like this because but I'm also that kind of person. Like I saw Breaking Bad the entire season 5 years after it was over.
Yeah, I started it after it was already on Netflix.
Yeah, same. I finished it on that. Like I watched it. And I saw seasons 1 through 3. I think when it was actually on air, or no, seasons 1 and 2 when it was on air, and then I because that writer strike happened during season 3, so they split it up, and I stopped watching because I thought it was gonna be bad, which season 3 happened to be the best season. It's so awesome.
Is that the season with the fly episode that everyone's
that's
really
the season with the
on?
fly. That's when
so
like that's when when him and Gus like finally started working together.
What a great show. Too bad. It's a shame that both of us have seen that.
Yeah, I know. I'm down to rewatch it again. I literally just rewatched it like this past year with someone else, and I introduced them to it, and they really liked it, and I enjoyed like watching them watch it. I'm like,
and you're just like, enjoy this for the first time. Do you have? I know it's hard because it's only been the pilot. Do you have any like predictions or things you think will happen or that you want to happen based on what you've seen thus far?
Well, so far, like I said, Miranda's my favorite character.
Excellent choice.
Excellent choice. I think she's one of the most put together. I mean, as far as a character in a show, period, I think she's one of the most like put together persons I've ever seen on screen. So right now, the only thing that I'm looking forward to is her winning, no matter what it is. As long as she doesn't like murder anybody in any episodes, I'm on her side. I want her to win the most, and I'm interested to see what kind of debauchery Samantha and Carrie get into, because they definitely seem like the most fly by night kind of character, and so I'm interested in seeing that. I don't know how I feel about the last character, Charlotte. Because they haven't really given her much in this episode. She seems like a sweet girl, so I kind of want to see her win. But so far, my biggest like rooting rah is for Miranda, and I feel like because like deep down as a man, that's the kind of person I want to be. Like somebody who knows what they want, goes for it, and takes no bullshit in the long run.
And one other question. You mentioned Carrie's writing style. Yes. How do you like all the direct-to-camera address?
I'm kind of okay with that because it's a very dated thing to do, especially like. But I mean, that's the era we grew up in. I mean, you know, think of every teen drama, every teen rom-com, and everything like that. There's always a fourth wall break and like looking at us and like speaking to us. So like. That kind of is nostalgia for me to see that in TV again and not look at it as something that's like overdone or corny. Because like 2020, it's overdone and corny, except for Deadpool. But it's nice to see that back. And I actually kind of like it because for me personally, as far as this show, it kind of keeps me in the story. Like it keeps me interested. Like it breaks me like I feel like I'm going on this little journey with her for 30 minutes, so I'm okay with it. I'm good with it. I think maybe by season 5 I might get old, but
they don't continue it. The voiceover stuff stays, but the like turning right to camera eventually eventually goes away.
Well, that's how you know that
it wasn't working.
Progression. Yeah. That's how it's the progression of the years. But
I read something ages ago where she said like she didn't mind that it went away because she's married to Matthew Broderick, and she's like, to me, he's the only person who's ever done it really, really well in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's fair.
And I was
fair.
like,
that's fair.
That's really
that's what I'm saying.
Observation.
Like Ferris Bueller and Deadpool might be the only two people that can pull the fourth wall break
Deadpool
off.
dressed up as Ferris Bueller in that post-credit sequence to deliver that gag.
And to be fair, they're both sociopaths, so it works.
Oh my god,
Ferris Bueller, he's not a great guy, but
yeah. Well, if you think about it too hard,
break. He can break a fourth wall like nobody's business. Like that's what he can do.
He can also pressure his friend into stealing his dad's car.
Yeah, and or the debauchery things. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Some other fun facts about the 90s, if you're curious. The major film releases that year. Well, first of all, Titanic won the Oscar that year. In 1998. Other major film releases that are all very sex related. As I mentioned, 1998 was a very sexy year. There's Something About Mary came out that year. How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
Just watch that.
On the slightly less sexy end is Practical Magic. Can't Hardly Wait.
All right.
The Truman Show. Rush Hour.
Ooh.
Armageddon. The Big Lebowski. The Wedding Singer. What a fucking great year this is.
Oh, man,
and as I've known before, one of your personal favorites, The Mask of Zorro.
Yes. Man, what 1998 was a great year.
What a year,
dude. Rush Hour. That's like literally still one of my like top 10 favorite movies. Like as far as like buddy cop movies go. Like I didn't realize so many good movies came out that year.
And then some other big TV premieres this year. Dawson's Creek.
Okay.
Teen Sex. Charmed.
Teen Sex? That was
I was just calling Dawson's Creek like a teen sex show.
Wait, now have you seen this? Because this might be the next thing that we have to
I have not seen Dawson's Creek.
Me either. Okay.
Okay.
So we have to maybe, we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, we'll talk about that.
I've always been curious about that because that's been in the lexicon of people's things for a while, and I never got into it. That or One Tree Hill. I
never did One Tree Hill
like that. But all right, continue. I'm sorry.
No, let's see. Dawson's Creek, Charmed, That 70s Show.
Watch that.
Will and Grace came out this year.
Watch that. Love that.
Felicity.
Some of that.
And Teletubbies.
Watch the shit out of that.
Teletubbies. All day, every day.
Oh yeah. I mean, that show, you talk about like something to watch when you're stoned. That's the motherfucking show. It is hilarious when you're high. It's so fucking funny. Because like if you watch it just sober, it's just weird.
It's just surreal.
It works like if you were a British kid, because that's where it originated. But like as an American, it's just kind of weird. But if you get stoned and watch it, it's incredible. You will see things that like the fact that there's a baby in that sun is just, to me, laugh my ass off every time that baby comes on screen. Like, it's just so random. Like, why is there a baby in the sun? We don't know. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
That's our pop culture context for Sex in the City. But yeah, apparently 1998, everybody fucking horny as hell.
That was like, dude, 1998 was like a mix of like cocaine 80s and then like like cocaine 80s and like just like wild thoughts. Like, let's be honest, 90s was a pretty like that was like the last kind of era of like shows just kind of going forward, like as far as like theme songs went and as far as like, ideas went, things got a little more tame towards like the beginning of the 2000s and so on and so forth. But like that was kind of like, the 90s was like the last little decade of like, hey, we're still hitting like, instead of doing 2 bumps of coke, we're doing 1 bump of coke and we're gonna write this.
Things get kind of conservative in weird ways in the early 2000s.
You know what I think? I think 9/11. I think 9/11.
Well, the Bush presidency for sure.
Yeah, I think that
impact and to a certain degree 9/11. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think those two factors, because we were in a different place after 9/11, as far as like just as a country, as people, and everything like that. And it kind of unfortunately kind of took the fun out of
Oh
us as
yeah,
people for a
absolutely.
while because I mean it was tragedy. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, understandably, but yeah, because '90s we were still having a little bit of fun. Economy was booming. We were like, hey,
Yeah.
we're on top of the world, and then like 9/11 happened. We were like, oh, we're not.
Oh, things are not so great. Oh dear.
Oh, we're vulnerable. We're more vulnerable than we thought. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We didn't. I feel like. I tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like so many '90s movies and/or shows were constantly going, "It's the '90s." Like
Yes.
about like
Yeah.
no one ever was like, "Hey, it's the 2000s, man. Just
No,
live
no
it
one
up."
did.
No, this was
Yeah.
like, "It's the '90s."
Yeah.
over and
Well,
over.
anytime like somebody had like anytime there's in a show or in a movie where like somebody had like kind of a backwards thought or like an old school thought, it's
Yeah,
like
they're
hey, it's
like,
the '90s. We're progressive. We've
yeah,
gone beyond that. And it's like, did we?
yeah,
But apparently we did. But I mean, because from what you just laid out for pop culture, as far as like TV shows and things of that nature, I mean, a lot of those shows had, especially like Dawson's Creek and stuff like that. I
yeah.
remember seeing just like little snippets of episodes, and like, as far as kid TV, that was pretty risque.
They
So
were
this
always
was the
sneaking
year.
sneaking into each other's rooms, man.
Hmm
That's
I remember
okay.
seeing a lot of bras in those episodes.
And they were all Tommy
Yeah,
Hilfiger.
let's for 14. Then you see that bra, I was like, hey, now this is a show.
See, I'm a big old nerd, and I was not into Dawson's Creek and stuff.
Me
I
either.
only liked my teen drama if it had like a supernatural bent to it. So yeah, like way in on Buffy.
That's fair.
Eventually in on Charmed. They were a
Okay.
little older, but it's
I
still
love
very
Charlotte.
teenagery.
Yeah,
Honestly, I
totally watched.
rewatched it a couple years ago on
Yeah.
Netflix, and it's so like, I was like, "Are you girls in your 20s? Or are you fucking 15? What is happening?"
Yeah, there's a few shows from that era that even with the guides of nostalgia, it just doesn't work. Like you
Yeah,
can't watch it again. It just like, you can't do it. I mean, like even for me, like trying to like I got to a certain point in Family Matters, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I can't watch this anymore. Like, how the hell did they get 9 fucking seasons out of this shit? Like, this is crazy. So but I'm excited for this journey. I can't wait to
yeah.
finally be a part of the Sex in the City.
Get ready for that theme song to get stuck in your head, and just you'll be
Listen,
walking around and hearing.
I'm just excited to finally get to this season, finish it, and know who I truly am as a character, whether I be a Samantha, a Carrie, or a Miranda, or
Charlotte.
Charlotte. I
Man,
can't remember her name. Charlotte.
Charlotte
See,
is getting
she's not.
Peggy'd so hard
She's
by you
not.
right now.
She's not. She. That's it. This is only episode 1. They didn't really give her much, so
That's true. That's true.
eventually I will. She'll be in my brain.
Yeah, because she's separated for like the back half of the episode because she's on the date with Cody Duncan.
And her story just seems like just her story so far in the first episode just seems just separate from the other girls.
Yeah.
Like even when she's at the birthday dinner and stuff like that, she doesn't like. It's like she's the. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but she seems like the new friend to the group. Like
They don't ever get deep into like when they all met and became friends. And in fact, in some episodes, you'll go, "How are they all friends? how did these 4 women find each other?"
Well, as far as the first episode goes right now, as far as Charlotte goes, like she seems like if however they did become friends, she definitely seems like she's the newest to the group. Like I feel like she's only friends with everybody because Carrie brought her in.
Yeah.
That's how she seems.
Because she doesn't even go, because the club Cody Duncan goes to is the one that they're all at. And it almost seems like they didn't invite Charlotte because they knew she had the date that night, but the fact that she didn't even think she could go to that club as well, knowing her friends were all there.
Right.
I've done that where I'm like, I think everyone's hanging out, but is it weird if I show up? I wasn't invited.
See, and that's what I mean. That's the vibe I get from her right now. That's why I can't remember her name, but eventually I will get there. I'm ready for the journey.
If you don't feel that you are wholly one character, you can always do the Zodiac version where you are so and so sun,
I'm gonna go
such and such
moon.
My
own journey. I don't need no experts to tell me who I am.
And whoever rising
journey, and I'm gonna figure it out myself. That's my goal before the end of this series. When we're done, is to tell you who I am as far as the characters.
I think I'm overall. I want to say I'm more of a Miranda, but there's definitely some Charlotte tendencies.
Well, there's a piece of all the characters, probably
Yeah,
all of us.
a Charlanda, if you will.
Charlanda. Okay. Hey, that's not bad. That's not
Yeah.
bad. You know, they seem to be the decent of the characters. So you know, we'll see what happens.
All right.
I'm
Well,
excited.
that was our first episode.
Episode
We'll come
1.
back and add where you can find us on the internets a different time.
Yes.
Because we have to set up our social media handles.
By the time we air this episode, it'll at least be in the description. So
yeah,
you guys
or
can
I
find us there.
or I can edit it in and cut this part out.
You can always do that part
So
too.
fancy.
But this is the first episode of Show Me What I've Been Missing. It's been great. I can't wait to do episode 2, where we do season 1, episode 2, Sex in the City. Thanks for listening, guys. Take it easy.
All right.
Yeah.
Stop